and welcome to the latest edition of the 18 Bad Guys documentary. For this week's episode, we journey back to season one, all the way back to the first season of the A Team. We go to episode 12. The episode was called The Beast of the Belly of a Boeing. It aired on May the 3rd, 1983, and it was all about a group of hijackers who took over a plane with passengers and demanding demands, and the A Team was hired in. One of the villains on that episode was a character called Phillips, and he was played by our special guest here today, Jesse Goins. Jesse, the A Team, such an iconic show. September, May the 3rd, 1983, such a long time ago. Can you tell us, how did you come about? Was that one of your first gigs in the industry? And how did you come about landing a role on the A Team?
Yeah, that was one of the first things that I did back in the day. I went to college and got my degree and everything, and in theater acting. I went to New York City, and then I moved to Los Angeles in 1979. So yeah, I was just getting started. So when I got the call to do it, I was really excited about it. Actually, Stephen Cannell was the writer producer on it, and I had worked with him on uh, a couple of shows prior to that, and so it was really a great opportunity to just keep things going, for me. So I really enjoyed it. It was great, and Stephen was one of the best people you could ever work for in the world. He really was great. So yeah, it came about early when after I got here to Los Angeles, and it just helped me to kind of keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, and I suppose, Jesse, most of that was staged, I presume. In terms of that episode, did for in terms of the location, was it done in an airport? Was a plane hired out, and you sort of designated sort of a zone where cameras and TV crews were? You probably hired out sort of an aircraft for the week, I imagine. Was that the way it went?
No, actually, it was all on a set.
Okay.
Yeah, it was done on a set. So you know how they do? They just cut half of the airplane, cut the airplane in half, basically, so the lights and sound can get in there. And so yeah, we did it all on a set. Um, but it didn't make it any less, exciting because the cast was there that we had working that I was working with. They were into like having fun but keeping it real.
Mm.
So there's one scene in there where after we're captured and they do the turnaround in terms of putting the bad guys on the defense. Uh, Mr. T was supposed to pick me up and throw me across the room, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I had a stunt person to do that for me. I did not have to fly and crash into the seats. But yeah, it was all done on the set so that it's much easier to control it that way.
Yeah, and Jesse, a sort of a trend in terms of, I was speaking to a good number of actors. They all sort of compliment the stunt team on the A Team. They said they were one of the best in the business. They were hidden gems, and they were the real stars of the show in terms of what they were capable to do. And Stephen Cannell went out of his way to get stuntmen that sort of resembled the actors that he had on an episode in terms of appearance and everything. So. Was that your sort of experience? One of your first jobs in the industry were these the stunt team on the A Team were the one of the best in the business in the 80s?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was like one of my first opportunities to have the need to have a stunt double, for that. Because when I read the script and I saw what I had to do, I was like, boy, I hope they get somebody to do this. I'll do it if I have to, but I really hope they get somebody else. So yeah, the fellow that did the work for me was great. I mean, it was just like there was no difference in the way he looked, the way I looked. They did a really great job. I think they did maybe like two or three takes of it just for the camera. but he was excellent. And Stephen was meticulous, but Stephen was one of the warmest people you could ever work for. It wasn't like he was the writer, the producer. So you need to pay attention and do what he tells you. He was very open. I worked with him on a show called The Greatest American Hero prior to
Okay.
to doing this, and it was amazing because when we would work, what Stephen would say is, "I wrote the line, I wrote the words, but they have to come out of your mouth. So you have to make it work for you. I'm not tied to it. So, we know what the basic gist of the thing is. So just make sure that it works for you." And that is so generous of a writer, because I worked for other writers who would say the word is the, not a. I want that T crossed, I want that I dotted. So you had to just stick to the script, say every word that they had written, which is another challenge as an actor. But Stephen was so open. I think that's why all the shows that he did, you get this real sense of openness, looseness, just a natural feeling, because he allowed the actors to really bring themselves to what we were working on.
Yeah, I remember watching. I still in terms of doing my research, I sat down when I watched the episode there again today, and looking back, I looked at your character Phillips, and I was studying him closely, and he looked to me like a guy, if it was real life, a bit jumpy, a bit on the edge in terms of. Sort of not sort of sure in himself whether the plan would go off without a hitch, and the first signs of trouble, I suppose, in terms of I would say not nerves, but signs of stress were beginning to show in his character.
Yeah, yeah, and I enjoyed that, because he wasn't like a thug. He wasn't like all in. He was like, I really don't want to be here. I didn't think we had to do this. Do we have to go this far with it? When is it going to be over? So it was a lot of fun to play that kind of a character, at that time, because most of the other things I've been able to do, I don't think I played maybe one other character that was that had that kind of timidity, to his character, to who he was. So yeah, it was fun to play that because it was such a different contrast, to all the other guys that were there. They were sure of themselves, they wanted to go off. Let's do this. And he was like, okay, okay, all right, okay.
And I suppose, Jesse, in terms of some of the scenes, predominantly towards the end of it, it's just yourselves and the A team in terms of that plane for much of the episode. But for the start of it, they do show a sort of a good lot of passengers on the sort of plane as such. So, in terms of that sort of shooting, were they just all one day actors that were just brought in, sat on a plane, and then just sort of scuttled out, and you saw them there for one take, and that was it?
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because it was, the focus was really on, us and the A team. So yeah, they had, I think we might have shot 2 days on that.
Okay.
And yeah, so most of the folks that were the passengers, they were basically like a day player or in a background actor.
Mm.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I suppose, Jesse, in terms of arriving on the set of the A team, some people are speaking to us so far in terms of this documentary. They all say what a slick operation it was in terms of you arrived on set, did you could see everything was in tune. The cast members, it was such a smooth operation from start to finish. There wasn't any real sort of hiccups, and when you came on the sort of a show that it was everything was run timely and unprecise, and only one or two takes for most sort of shoots. And was that the sort of similar experience that you had in terms of your episode?
Yeah, definitely. The vibe on the set was very welcoming. Even though my role, I was coming in as a co-star, and it was only going to be 1 or 2 days work, but when I got to the set, everybody was so welcoming. Everything was set up nicely. You get there, you right to your room, to my room. Makeup and hair. People would knock on the door before they opened it to tell you that they're ready for you. So there was a lot of respect and courtesy, and it just ran very, very smoothly. And that helps you to feel really comfortable as an actor to do the best that you can do, because you want to be able to not just do it because it's a professional, you want to do your best, but because of what you're receiving and the way you're being treated by the cast and crew and the directors and the producers. You really feel very, very comfortable. You want to do it because you're being treated very, very well. And that it was like that on all of Steven's sets. Whatever you were working on, the warmth was always there.
I suppose, Jesse, before you got landed your role on the A Team, had you ever worked with Dwight Schultz or Dirk Benedict or George Papard or Mr. T, or after your role in the A Team going a few years down the line, did you ever bump heads with him again in terms of working on a project with him?
No, no, I never had a chance to work with them again. And it's like kind of like that in LA, in the business. Maybe you try to make the best you can, of the relationships that you can make, in that immediate period of time. But it was interesting because I had seen a documentary, I think, or some kind of something on Mr. T and how he became Mr. T. He was a bouncer, and there was this competition, where the bouncers had to go through some obstacle course and then ring a bell at the very end. And he was the fastest one to do it. And of course, the look and everything was great. And that's what actually kind of launched him. And so when I had a chance to at least see him, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And George Picard, oh, whoa, this is insane. The level of you know, accomplishment that he had made, in his career, was really tremendous. And you can see the cast and members that were, involved in their careers really blew up from that point forward. So yeah, it was
Yeah, and
great.
Jesse, you mentioned George Papard, and I suppose from my experience talking to an awful lot of people who've played bad guys so far, I think we're on to our 15th or 16th episode. Just asking them about their memories of George Papard, because we all hear the stories about his demons and his personal life. They all have great things to say about George from their experience of nice, sort of friendly man, sort of when you met him. Very helpful, sort of quiet sort of a man, didn't really say much, very polished, but he'd say he'd be courteous to you, and he'd say the words. So in terms of what the demons that people say and that's written about, people who have met him in person, have worked with him closely, only high him in the highest regard. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, yeah. I think he was a professional. And so, I know he had a lot of, challenges in his personal life, but he was cordial, he was nice, he was open, he was welcoming, when we on the set. I know he struggled, from what I understood. He struggled because, this was going to be a vehicle for him to, come back strong and supporting his career. And so when, Mr. T's character, kind of took on a life of its own and became like the driving force, for it was kind of a blow, to him,
Mm.
which is understandable. But I never felt that, not in working on the set with him. That I never felt that from him. So he was able to, make a separation there. So yeah.
And I suppose, Jesse, in terms of your episode, I suppose family members, loved ones, they probably A Team is shown even to this day all over the world, reruns in every sort of TV station. So do you still get nieces and nephews and cousins say, "Hey, Uncle Jesse, cousin, I saw you on the A Team. I saw that episode." I suppose you've been in an awful lot of roles and projects throughout your career, and probably main in films and movies where you're the main star and featured for maybe 90 minutes of the movie as such. But in terms of the A Team, everybody knows it. It's known all across the globe. So do you often hear, sometimes you hear people talk about here, did you appear on the A Team, or say I saw you in the A Team, and you'd be like, yeah, but that was 1983, I did this, and why aren't you asking me about my movie I did last year or such? Or
Well, yeah, actually, I do get that, from folks, especially my family, like my grandkids, because yeah, I'm a grandpa. They say, I saw that was grandpa. That was grandpa. So I get a text from them and I say, yeah, 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 that was me. Actually, it was me when I was much, much younger. I tease them and say, oh, no, that's your uncle. That's your Uncle Adam, my son. It wasn't me, you know. But yeah, I get that. And I always appreciate it because I think one part of doing the work as, being an actor is to be able to have an influence on people, to do something for them, to uplift them in some way, or send them a message, whatever the film or the project is about, you know, so that it's kind of didactic, as they say. It's like the sugar coated pill, in the sense that it's something that you enjoy, but there's something, there for you, a message or something. So sometimes people just need a diversion, so I just appreciate it, when people remember, or they see me, they remember something that I did. So, a lot of appreciation for that, from me.
And I suppose, Jesse, the last question before I let you go, and I'll probably rack your brains on this one. Let's pretend there was an A Team encyclopedia, a sort of a dictionary as such, and they put every sort of fictional character who appeared in the A Team over the 5 years into that sort of encyclopedia. And underneath that character's name, say your character Phillips, they left two blank sentences underneath it. So the editor or the producer of that encyclopedia rang your talent agent, who got in touch with yourself and said, listen, they're doing an A Team encyclopedia. They want two lines to summarize your character, Phillips, what he was like on the A Team. You portrayed the role, Jesse. They want to hear what you would say. Having portrayed the role, Jesse Goins, what would you like those two sentences to read?
Oh, I would say he tried to be bold, but he got cold feet.
He tried to be bold, but he got cold feet. Only one sentence, Jesse. But Jesse, an absolute pleasure talking to you today, to relive your memories of your time on the A Team, playing the character Phillips. Do go back, and everyone listening in and tuning in to and watch Jesse's episode again. You can see it in all different platforms throughout the internet. It aired in May the 3rd, 1983. For people who want to know that episode, it was called The Beast from the Belly of the Boeing. It's a season 1, episode 12. Jesse plays the character Phillips. Do relive all these highlights, and what was a great episode in terms of plane hijacking, especially in the early 80s. But for the moment, Jesse, pleasure talking to you, and we wish you a safe and prosperous 2021.
Thank you, Jim. Same to you and your family.
Cheers. Take care, Jesse.
Thank you.